Evening, this is the February 24th, it's approximately 6 p.m. It's a meeting of the General Bylaws Review Committee. I'm with the chair, first order of business, I think we'll just do attendance. And so if we just go around the room, Karen
Sure, Karen Calton.
and Kathy.
Kathy Dowd here.
Eric Bailey.
Connie Barr.
And then Louise
Louise Miller.
and Michael.
Michael Fee.
So we're all here. Thank you very much for coming. And we also have in attendance Gates Fitzpatrick, Miles, and Chris Heaps and Chris Heap, single Heap, sorry. Our next order of business is the minutes. So Miles was organized enough and gracious enough to keep minutes for our first 3 meetings. And my thought is we'll go through each set of minutes in its own. So we have, each of us has received the December 11th draft minutes, and I'll open it to discussion if anybody has any comments or corrections. Any comments on the December 11th?
Am I allowed to move acceptance if nobody has any comments?
That would be graciously accepted.
I move acceptance of the minutes of something 11,
December.
thank you.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Oh, do we?
Aye.
Do we have to roll call? Sorry.
Sorry. Thank you. So, well, maybe we'll follow the same order. Karen,
Aye.
Kathy,
Aye.
Eric?
I was not present, so do I?
Oh,
I or abstain? Eric Bailey abstain.
Connie,
Connie Barr, aye.
Louise,
Aye.
and Michael,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. So those minutes are deemed approved. Then our next set of minutes is actually just the subcommittee, which was January 24th, 2025. And those are minutes amongst the 3 subcommittee members, which were Connie, Karen, and myself.
I wasn't present though.
You're right. Connie, do you have any
I move
comments?
acceptance.
Sorry.
I have no comments.
Likewise, and I'll
Louise had her hand up.
So-
I have a question. How do you spell your name, Eric?
Thank you for bringing that up. It's with a K. I actually was not gonna say anything, because it really doesn't matter. But if it's easy to correct, it's with a K.
It's easy enough to.
It's easy enough to correct, and thank you, Louise, for catching that. Thank you for your graciousness. With that correction, is that, I assume that doesn't.
Yeah, no, that, I should have caught it and I didn't, so.
I didn't either.
I have all sorts of
I-
Ks and Cs and.
And I'll vote aye as well, and so that set of minutes is deemed approved. And then our final set of minutes is the January 27th set. And is there any discussion or comment on those draft minutes?
Again, the same with my spelling of my name.
Makes sense?
Since Louise so kindly brought it up.
And now we will have it correct from this point forward.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Any other comments on the January 27th minutes?
No.
Otherwise? Yes.
Mr. Chair, just a administrative note, would recommend that the body approve them with the YouTube link to be added once that is present. It's not actually posted to YouTube at the moment. There's an IT issue on the back end, long story. But we don't have the link yet, but it will be included in the minutes once we send them to the clerk.
Any dissent to that? Otherwise, we'll proceed with that condition.
So
Thank
moved
you.
with that caveat. Second.
I don't think we need to.
We don't need to do that.
But in terms of the minutes, if
I
there's
vote
no
aye
comments,
to
aye.
accept.
Kathy?
Aye.
Eric Bailey, aye.
Connie, aye.
Uh,
Louise Miller, aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Chair, aye. So that's our minutes addressed. Thank you all. And then our next order of business is Article 8 of the bylaws. And this, as we all know, is our first adventure at reviewing in detail an article. And I suggested that we proceed with this article because it had been recently addressed, and I thought it might be something that could give us a little structure as we're going, because it is recently addressed, and let us start to develop our own process and approach to reviews. And you'll remember that in our minutes from the January 27th meeting, we had laid out criteria that we would address at a minimum. These are not certainly the total criteria, but at a minimum, we'd address these criteria. And we agreed at our last meeting that we would each take turns leading the discussion. Connie's graciously agreed to lead our discussion
With
tonight.
conscription.
We'll change the minutes. Connie was conscripted
Yeah.
too. In any event, so let me turn it over to Connie to lead our discussion. And what we're doing, just so everybody's aware, we do not have tonight a marked up set of minutes, so Miles has agreed to follow the discussion, and as we discuss and agree to make proposed changes, because obviously anything we're changing here has no immediate effect on the bylaws. These are going to be recommendations ultimately going to town meeting, but as our working draft of proposed revisions, Miles will be making the recommended changes, recording the recommended changes as we're going. And Miles and I have talked offline that we'll do the same procedure each meeting, so that then we'll have a complete set of what we've worked up. And obviously we'll have to develop a report at the end of our work. Touch on that later. With all that background, let me turn it over to Connie.
So this is a great way to start. A lot of it's already done, and it's somewhat simple language that didn't involve a lot of specific gender, other things that we have to be careful of. It did, I thought, made me go back and look at some other sections, the bylaws, so maybe that was a good way that it would to start. And I also remember the discussion at town meeting. I don't remember all of them, but I remember this one. I started right off with having to look up whether whoever was correct for the very first word, but it's whoever, which is what's in there. One comment is that a lot of this has to do with the specific fines for offenses, and that really is not our purview here. We are not making those decisions as town meeting or the particular sections of our town government, who may be the enforcers or whatever. So that takes a lot of it off of my plate, I think. I'll mention the comments that I have. They are not a lot. I will say that the comment about appropriate language, it took me a minute on grazing of animals, but the fact is, it is about grazing of animals. So that even though that we thought that might come from the 1700s, it's actually true now that you can't have your cow eating on the grass any longer. So my first comment had to do with the third. Some of what I wondered about with this, and I don't think it's perhaps germane, is whether we actually do some of what's here. And it's the third paragraph, the last line, 822. It's saying that each day on which the violation exists will be a separate offense. I don't think we have to decide here whether that's what actually happens, but my guess is that's not what actually happens.
Well, I have a question on that, because that no longer is part of the text.
Is that one of, yes, that's one of the new ones, yes.
Right, so that reference, the point that you just made is not in the new text.
So then, you're right. I looked at this separately, I should have looked those together, so we don't really have to worry
It's
about it,
10A,
we've already got
yes.
it, right, done. Take that one out. I looked at 8223, demolition of
Can I just say
historic,
one
yeah,
thing? There's in the preamble paragraph under 822,
yeah,
it does say that,
Right.
that each day is a separate offense. Right, Chris?
It does.
So
still-
that applies
Still
all of
in
it.
issue.
It still says that each day on which any violation exists shall be deemed to be a separate offense,
And we
unless
do-
otherwise
We
specifically.
do use that.
okay, I was more curious, but okay.
So the statute, which is 21D, specifically says that each day of a violation would be considered a separate violation, so that has its roots in the statute itself.
So,
And it can be applied that way, but it sometimes is and sometimes is not, because in order to do that,
yeah, it is still.
you have
It
to,
is still.
It is still there, yeah.
you have to actually
Yeah.
issue a ticket for
Yeah.
each day.
Okay.
So in actually applying that as it reads would require the building commissioner or the fire chief or somebody else to go out, check, see that the violation is still in place and issue another ticket for each day. So you can do that, but sometimes it happens that way. Sometimes one could be enough.
And I would guess that it's appropriate to have that as a possibility.
Yes.
Again, it's not our decision necessarily, we're just looking at it as a possibility so that appropriate enforcement can take place depending on how egregious something is. So yeah, it is still in there, so that's. I next had a comment on 8223, which was demolition of historical buildings. It looks to me like this is not complete demolition to the ground, but harming an historical building. I don't know if we go back to, what is it, 211?
1159.
Whether that's something we have to spell out or not. It was just a question in my mind, and I know nothing about this, so I just asked. I would think it would apply not just to complete demolition. In the event of a demolition of a historical significant building in violation of this bylaw, the person or persons responsible, blah, blah, blah. Each day, the building is not restored to its conditions immediately prior to the said demolition, and the demolition permit is not issued, there'll be a separate offense. So it's really talking about doing it without permit, I believe. Anyway, I didn't know if it's total demolition or if it's partial.
So I have a
Demolition is defined at 211.5.2.
You knew that right off the bat.
No,
understand what we passed the town meeting, but it says deleting section 822 in its entirety. And inserting in its place the columns. 823 doesn't exist anymore, it's gone.
And there are some number problems in here.
Well, isn't. That section is in 822 and
Oh,
Louise had sent it out on,
So 8223 doesn't exist anymore.
It's in the table.
it's in the,
For the table.
it's in the preamble. I don't know if you're looking at the document that Louise sent on February 13th.
I think that's what this is.
Yes.
Yes.
The bottom of page 1, 2.5, 2.11.5.
I should actually be reading from this and not from that anyway. So, do we have a discrepancy here or not? I
Well,
don't
so
think we do.
to answer I think the first question, as Michael pointed out, we define demolition earlier in the main body of the bylaws, and that would include taking down a building or a portion of it.
Okay,
Partial demolition would be a violation if
So-
if it was not properly permitted.
so then that covers whatever, we don't have to change the wording. I wasn't thinking we probably gonna have to, but. If I go too, I don't think I can go too fast on this, but if I go too fast, let me know. So grazing, I had to look up, I thought it was gonna be my example of anachronistic, language, but in fact, that is what the 3.1.1 talks about, so I don't have to change that. Next time I had a question was C, carrying refuse substances without Board of Health approval. The new language or the language in 2.5.1, I believe says transported. I don't know what they meant. I mean, carrying with your hands. Or, and maybe this is not important.
Are you looking at the amended version?
I'm looking at what Louise sent out.
Can you give us the number? Nicole?
Yeah.
2.5.1. Here it's under H224, but it's C.
So I would say one other thing is that this same town meeting in October of 23, the article that adopted this chart was one of 30 changes to all the other articles. So that is a little bit confusing. So that's why we're working on a.
But, and here it does say transportation, so we're,
So I don't have that with me, but
I have, this is the,
this chart here that we sent out.
yeah,
do you have the
So-
amendments to 2.5?
looks to me like 2.5.1 says
Louise
transporting,
needs to-
there it is right there.
Chair.
Louise?
So, yeah, so transportation by private companies has to be licensed with the Board of Health. Whereas carrying your own refuse to the RTS does not. So this is the Board of Health licensing of refuse companies. So we have a number of them that are private haulers or others that come to the RTS and dispose of refuse that they have, collected elsewhere. Those all have to be properly licensed transporters.
I think that when we get to section 2,
Yeah,
whoever's
Yeah.
doing it, I think we had
Yeah.
said this might be one that the Board of Health might want to look at as to
Yeah.
whether people are carrying ashes within alleys,
Yes.
but it does match up. The transportation.
Right. But transportation, they license all those haulers.
so 2.5.1 doesn't appear to talk about permitting for businesses. 2.5.2 does, now I guess we're gonna go back over it because it's in. This isn't even my area, let's just skip all of this.
It says no person. Right, so that would be inclusive, would it not, of businesses? or-
Maybe,
No person shall carry in or through any of the streets, squares, sports lanes, et cetera. All of these types of dirt. Oh, this is the one, yeah, when we get to section 2, grease or bones, we talked about this already.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's Eric's.
So this is my domain, and I have reviewed it, and I wrote, my comment was, quote, this section may need clarification.
okay, we're in two, okay. Okay, well, we can work on that then. I'm gonna move to D, which again, posting, I thought might be an old
So,
word.
but
Yeah, oh, do you have something more, sorry.
the key thing is this doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, so this is the one I printed off, so sorry,
The only thing that exists is the table, which seems to have disappeared.
this one, the table, yeah.
The one that's actually a table, yes.
So do we have descriptions in 8, or we completely don't have descriptions anymore, which
I do not have descriptions. in it.
Right,
in which case I did way more than I need to.
that's no harm done.
Yes.
No harm done at all.
Yes. Like until just now, I had not realized that the numbers referred back to bylaw sections, so like.
Oh, yes, yeah, yeah.
Because that was helpful to me,
Oh, maybe, yeah.
but, so the whole 822, sorry, I did not realize,
Yes. And replaced just by the preamble
Section,
paragraphs and the table.
and the table.
Yep.
Geez, it would have been a lot simpler. So where do I start then? And I don't have to do, I did all of this, but I don't have to do, we don't have to think about any of this.
I think that's accurate.
You guys had a lot of trust in me. You just gave me this, like, and I didn't even get it right. Because the rest of it that I have, except for one number change, which now we don't have to worry about, because that whole thing is gone. I think. Let's see, where do we start back up again? Or don't we start back up again? Wetlands protections in here. Moving on, oh, I did have a question about the underground tank thing. Maybe it's not germane anymore. I did not see in the 433 section where the idea of the permit was spelled out, but maybe that's for 433 then, not for us here.
So, Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
think that this brings up a point that also just came up with the transportation of refuse. We have state law that governs permitting of certain activities, which is done by various offices in town, not just under our bylaws. So there are permits issued for underground tanks, for flammables, for other things. Those are all being issued pursuant to state law, just like the transportation of refuse issued under state law. So I do think that that is one question, is should we be referencing some of these state laws, or should we just have a general statement at the beginning about licenses that are issued under, I think at the beginning of section 8, it says pursuant to these bylaws, but also Massachusetts general laws.
Right. No, I think the reference to general laws needs to be there. Nonetheless, at least in my view, there needs to be the inclusion under the bylaw for the authority for the law to facilitate the law being enforced at the municipal level. And so I don't think if underlying the question is, should we dispense with it in its entirety? That's too much. But I think the reference absolutely to the state law needs to be there. My own view is that we make a general statement in the bylaws, and then I personally am not opposed to the notion of having relevant references at relevant sections, not thinking that we'll catch them all, because that would be a gargantuan task, but if it's double stated, no harm done, is my own view.
Yep.
Is that responsive to your question, Louise? I'm just making sure.
Yeah, and I wasn't suggesting that we not, have an enforcement mechanism. I was just pointing out that some of these we may not find a bylaw that corresponds to it because it's really regulated under state law.
Absolutely, yeah. No, and that's the tricky part. Probably that aspect of will be more tricky in Article 8 than anywhere else, because Article 8 is
References.
reaching all over the place, in state and municipal law.
There's really not much more to say because it's all spelled out here. And that's another question I had about what bylaw regulations regarding for-profit transient vendors. I didn't know what bylaw that related to. But it sounds like, but then there's a revised Article 70 again, I didn't know exactly what that was. But it sounds like if we need to get bylaws in.
Yeah, there's
pertinent
just
law
a missing
in-
site there, because what is Miles, what is the transient vendors bylaw? Just.
3 point something, licensed hawkers and peddlers, 3.1.1.
Yeah, they must have got cut off on the chart that. So that,
Right,
Okay, so then that's not a worry.
So it should be added to the chart.
it is in the chart,
Yeah.
just not on
Oh,
the
it
printout
is.
that got,
Right.
somehow got.
Okay.
it'd be
Not
3
Didn't
nailed
get
down
onto the
central.
printout.
Okay,
licensed hawkers and peddlers.
but it's
Yeah,
also,
3.1.11, I think.
Right.
that is in the most recent version of the table, though, the Article 8 table. has
That is the
reference.
article table.
Right.
Yep.
This is-
Yeah, okay, there we go.
And there were just way too many for me, it's clear. What about regulations regarding trench safety?
So a question on the one we were just talking about, the very last item in the table.
Yeah.
Also represents.
Yeah, what is
Yeah,
that?
And
yeah.
it doesn't have a reference, that's what I was
That could
looking
be
at.
my issue.
Where's
All the way to the bottom, there, very last row.
these ones here?
Oh, because these are the regulations issued by the select board.
Okay.
That's why, these three things at the bottom
Yep.
don't have.
Or no.
Bylaw numbers, so if you
Okay.
violate the Board of Health, boy, this is coming back, right? If you violate the Board of Health. Regulations or the select board regulations on these, it's also subject to a fine. And the zoning bylaw doesn't have a reference here.
Yep.
Yep.
So adding appropriate bylaws and laws is kind of all that needs to happen with this.
You're saying here,
I'm
to pick up a
asking.
reference on.
Is
yeah,
it the 3.1 or is it not?
So 3.11 for hawkers and peddlers authorizes the select board to issue regulations. So this is for the regulations, you can
Okay,
find someone.
Got it, so that would just be.
Or you can find them for the
Right,
bylaw, which.
right, okay.
But the amount is the same in both cases.
I see.
So,
I guess one of the tasks is if there's a section that has a relevant MGL, whether it should get flagged, put in, and that fire one does have the MGL in there.
It seems like it could be useful. And, you know, if somebody's trying to understand what the regulation is,
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah, yeah,
and if
But
it's
it's
a
a-
state one, you know.
but that's it. And in my own view, that's within our purview to recommend, because it's not a substantive change, it's a clarification.
And it would enhance the bylaws by
Right.
doing that.
Yeah, it makes it more clear, right? If we want people to be able to follow the bylaws, we want them clear, that will make them more clear.
Yes, so also readers of the bylaw to say, "God, this is very confusing. All I wanted to do was find out, is it
What
50
the
bucks?
fine-
Is it 50 bucks? Or is it 500 bucks? But I.
But it also gives substance to like these not being so arbitrary, like some of them are really required by state law, and then if you back it up, it's,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I can't find it in the new chart, water emergencies violations. It's right here, I just don't see
There's
it.
still charges.
Yeah.
That's.
What, in the reference to 2255, when I was looking at, obviously the wrong piece of paper, this is a great way to start. It was called municipal water supply, and I didn't get the connection with water emergencies. But that may be something I just didn't understand. Right after trench line.
2255.
Miles is pulling that out for our convenience.
That has to do with the water ban, doesn't it? And other
Yeah.
things, backflow prevention, all those other good things that DPW,
Yes,
how they keep our water safe and.
I just feel like that, if that ranks in this, it ought to be clear what that means. Is it flooding? Is it low to water table? Is it, what is
So
water?
it's the water ban for watering your lawn, and it's the backflow program.
There's two,
It's
those two
things.
sections are listed, yeah.
Yeah.
So
You're the expert. on
that's
two.
fine then, because if it's, as long as it's explicated, I'm okay with that. It just, I didn't.
So the
And
fine,
Miles, do you mind going back to the chart
Oh,
to demonstrate that it is balanced?
2.2.5.5 municipal water supply.
it goes to both of those things, the water
Yeah.
ban or the backflow prevention.
Cool.
Or anything.
Shouldn't that could potentially be spelled out for someone who's trying to understand what it talks about, but I'm no expert at how you write these things up.
Well, you could reference it to the subsection as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
To both
did this
subsections.
intentionally, so.
Sorry.
You can recommend it, but we were trying to make the chart like.
Not,
broad as-
okay. Well, and that's the back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so really, all the work that was done is really basically fine, it seems like.
Well, my thought is maybe if we go back up to the beginning, the initial paragraph and give that, I think we
Yes,
just. Armed with this discussion, it might be worthwhile to give that a review. Just since we're all getting focused here.
Well, I have a question about the content even before this, like 8.1.
So is that the criminal violations?
It's the penalties, yes.
Yeah, so
Well, let's go to Eric's question first.
their violation of a bylaw can be charged criminally. Chris, do I have this right?
Yeah.
So the non-criminal is an alternative to the criminal?
Right.
That sets the
Right,
stage.
so my question is, $20 seems insufficient and out of sync with the table. Where the table is generally 100, 200, 300. And this is basically saying, if you're an electrician and you don't have a license,
Right.
your penalty is $20.
It does say unless a specific penalty is
Right,
provided.
Correct.
But the irony of it is that it can be $100 if you don't have a leash on the dog, but if you're an unlicensed person dealing with people's electricity, it's $20. It's just a substitute.
Right. So
I
actually,
agree.
Why did we tackle that, or did we?
I don't, so I think we started our review
At 8:02.
at 8:02 and didn't,
Ah,
I don't recall, we may have looked at 8:01, but I don't recall doing so. And I don't know if for some reason that type of penalty is capped at $20 under general law, but I can look that up. Well,
if you could, that would be helpful.
That's a good point.
yeah, so because just looking at the table, if we change 20 to 100, that's at least keeping in the spirit of the table.
No,
And we won't be doing that, but that could come back to town meeting if it was important. to-
Oh, yes.
Correct. Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
in our recommendation,
Correct.
that would have to go to town meeting, absolutely.
I would say-
Strange that it's there too. I just never noticed it.
Can I ask a couple more questions, please, Mr.
Right.
Chair? So I noted that we don't have anything that addresses business licenses in the table. So business licenses are required for DBAs under state law. That is one area where we see that they're not necessarily kept up to date. They are important because that is how people know who is actually doing business in the town. And state law does provide for violation for fines of $300 for not licensing your business properly, your DBA in the town. So is this the appropriate place to, bring this up? Or is this something that, since I licensed them and I've now come to learn about them, would be more appropriate for a different discussion? I'm happy, but I'm sure that there are others that can't be the only type of license where we don't provide for a fine, even though state law does allow for us to fine businesses.
But Louise, isn't that the section that we were just talking about,
The first
811?
one.
The very, very first paragraph in the entire thing,
8.1.1?
yes. The one we were just talking about $20.
It's kind of talking about general.
Carries on a business for which a license or permit is required.
Yeah. So you
Right,
can-
but so I think we need though to say specifically who is authorized to issue that fine. I think that this is what, to me, this is part of what this clarifies, not only what the fine is.
Right.
But also who is issuing the fine.
Right,
I guess the question, that makes sense. I guess the question is, how many fines are out there in MGL that we don't include in our bylaws? There's probably a lot.
oh,
So do we
There
want?
probably are. There probably are. Okay, so I think my answer to that is if I would like to separately propose this as a bylaw, then I should do that separately from this group.
let me, before you walk away with
Yeah.
that conclusion, which I realize you've not been in office for 100 years, Louise, but in your experience, is this something that's coming up frequently?
Yeah, it is. The DBAs expire, we send notices of renewal and it can be, 3 years before someone renews. Or someone will try to find who the actual owner is or who of a DBA. And we just don't have that information on file because they have not renewed their DBA for a while.
What is
Um,
DBA? I'm sorry.
Doing business as.
Do business.
So companies, yeah, they like their street name, like restaurants, for instance, are often incorporated under another name.
Sure.
Yep.
We have a whole bunch of people who work from home and are operating businesses from home.
Under DBAs though.
They're all DBAs, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
They-
a lot of DBAs. So that's one. And then the other thing is where there are contradictions and, you know, this, I looked at the dog licenses. There are contradictions between Article 8 and then Articles 3, I think, and it's Article 4. Should we hold those until Articles 3 and 4 and fix Articles 3 and 4 to match Article 8?
I think
Which
that a
is
lot
what
of
I'm
us have-
inclined to do. That would be my proposal, is hold on those and then make everything match Article 8.
Louise, I think a lot of them have been done in the other documents that we've been talking about.
Yeah,
Because, like I said, article, whatever it was of 2023 had 30 bullet points and it changed a lot of those things in the other articles.
okay.
I know, yeah.
Can you give me one example that would help?
Yeah, it had to do with dog licensing fines in Article, I think it was Article 3, where 3.7.3 has a list of the fines for first and subsequent offenses.
Yeah, we
Um,
took those all out.
Those
I'm
are all
sorry?
Those are all gone. We took them all out.
These are all taken out. Okay,
Is-
I need to
The
find
warrant?
the
Just the
warrant.
warrant, yeah, just real fast, I think.
I've got the warrant.
Ah,
Well, I'm just gonna put it.
Okay. okay, all right. So
I
as
can
we
put
go through them, then we'll see if anything is still inconsistent. Okay, great, thank you.
The downside
okay.
of creating the committee right after the huge change, when we changed our town clerk and had how many elections since? 3?
Yeah, yeah.
We haven't stopped. We're on our fourth.
Okay. That's helpful. My thought in terms of making it may be that it's redundant, given the answers that we've received, but my thought is we deal with those articles when we get to them. My own thought on the DBA issue is that it would be impossible to go identify everything in the general laws, but it seems to me in terms of your issue on the DBA, if it's an ongoing real issue, then it seems to me that we certainly can include that in the recommendations we're making.
Okay,
That would be my thought. So it's
seemed
not
like-
an academic question, it's
Almost
something.
like- Sorry, I apologize. Almost like it was good to start here because to realize we have to pay attention to all of that, and this part is simple too.
Melissa, do you have any way of getting that STM unit?
It's,
Just to give an example.
So do we have a completely up-to-date clean?
Louise is working on it.
Yeah,
There's-
okay.
There is,
Yeah, it's. And
it does not exist.
the state has not, we're waiting for state approval on some of them and.
at least one.
just
yeah,
one.
Just one.
Just
Yes.
one, okay.
Maybe find the dog.
Historic,
one.
Yeah, start looking at the doctor now.
The single person store.
Okay.
Oh, they're looking hard at that.
I should have kept more.
I should know how to spell dog.
The first ones you learn.
Cat.
I'm a cat person.
Yeah, cat's probably there.
Thankfully, we do not license cats, only dogs.
Oh my, that would be something. Cats would
Yeah,
be
that's it
good.
right there.
But yeah,
Paragraph 21.
Do you mind blowing that up so we can read it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's better.
What happened? Half of it went white.
Leaving.
3.7.
So 3.7.3
Is gone.
was complaints and it had the, that sentence. And
Yeah,
then it had the fines, and now it just has the sentence and it says the fines are in ink.
should we mark up this one?
I'm sorry.
Louise is working on that?
Yeah, okay,
And
along with everything else.
Can you,
Louis- when Louise
can
sent
you
us-
screen share whatever you're looking at?
Oh, sorry, Michael. Thank you for saying.
You all look really wrapped in attention, but we,
Louise sent out a PDF version of the existing bylaw,
Mhm.
which I have put in all the changes like as comments, but we're gonna try to find a way to get them to you.
okay, got it. All right.
You can see it now, yeah, great.
Yeah, thank you.
The date of this, October 24th, 2023.
It was October 23, it was the fall, October 30.
October 30th of 23, Eric, that's on our website. We'll have a bunch of 2 changes.
I understand.
I'll send them out, but if you wanted to get a heads up.
It's article,
So you're gonna make me redo everything I did.
No. You might be like, oh, done.
I always think, do I keep this warrant or do I get rid of it? I can get it, find it somewhere else. I always get rid of it.
They're all
No, I think I
online.
should have kept it. Yeah,
They're
that's
all
what I thought. It's
So Article 14,
yes, article 14.
we'll, after the meeting, we can maybe distribute this. Yes.
And
Would I,
this is not the only bylaw amendment since July of 23 when we're
So
making it hard.
Oh, boy.
So Louise, are you reading or are you thinking? Because you said you
Both.
would have. Okay, well, then I'll let you read, but you.
So, no, I'm good. I'm good. I've read. If Michael is all set, I'm all set too.
All set.
You had
Get
said,
small again.
okay. But you had said, Louise, there were a couple points you wanted to bring up, and I want to make sure we've addressed
Yep.
those.
So my
Okay.
other question is, we've got this long list of penalties, right? And, one of my questions is, are we actually enforcing these? Like, do we actually use?
I think the
this-
question is, what percentage do we actually use? Because it's probably not 100, like you're pointing out.
No, it's not very much.
Well,
But does that,
maybe defer to Kate and Chris on that.
wouldn't it always be the case? We wouldn't do it all the time?
Does this stray outside of our purview?
Yes, we can change.
It's just a question, like,
Informational.
does the enforcement agent know that they're actually charged with enforcing all of these?
Yes, I think that is true.
Okay.
The life safety ones might
Yeah.
get done more than some of the others.
Mhm.
Mostly we just use the warning feature.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
let's face it, a lot of it is so that you could do it if you need to do it.
Absolutely.
And not because,
Absolutely.
yes, practically speaking.
Louise will appreciate this. When we had the water ban, somebody actually asked how much it would cost to pay the fines and then said,
Oh.
okay, I'm just gonna water.
Oh, and that's. back earlier to
That's great.
the Early discussion about every day being a single offense.
Yeah,
Because you
yes,
if
yes.
you calculate that at $50, then you'd buy your way out of it, if it's $50 every day.
And the clerk magistrate tossed out all of our water fines, so.
Oh, so,
They do that with the dog fines too.
Do that with the dog fines too.
I see.
Last name is Musk. I have a neighbor, maybe think of a neighbor who runs the whatever outflow, hose from their swimming pool to
The
Oh.
street,
the street.
text me.
Okay.
We'll let you a moment.
They're really nice people.
Louise, you're set then?
Yes, I'm all set. Thank you.
You're welcome. Could we then, Miles, if you don't mind going back, we were going to take a look, or I was suggesting that we take a look at the lead-in language and we were,
Yes.
The paragraph language, yeah.
yeah. And,
It's changed. It's not in this Word document. It's on the,
The 8.1.
yeah, I was thinking.
8.1.
Yeah, 8.1 and
Oh, okay.
8.12, I think.
You don't need to
Those-
screen, Mr. Chair, you don't need to screen share for me. I mean, I have that in front of me, but if you wanted, if Louise wants it, that's fine.
Oh, no, I think we should.
I have it in front of me as well. I'm all set.
The watching public is me.
Yes. Absolutely. So it looks as though we are sharing at the moment. And my thought was that we started down the path of looking at 8.1.1. And we've made the point about the $20 maybe being a stale amount. And then we have still 8.1.2. I know I have phraseology issue there in the second sentence. The maximum penalty for violation or offense is brought in such a manner shall be $300. I'm not sure the in such manner is clear at the slightest.
Or necessary.
Can I offer a certain observation? I don't know that 8.1.2 serves any useful function.
Oh,
Um,
you're trumping me.
It's because it says that the minimum fine is $50, but we don't. In the table in 8.2, have any fine lower than 100.
Oh, interesting.
And it says the maximum fine is $300. That's also true in the table itself, and that's also true under section 21D.
I see.
I had already added those notes. I thought Mr. Bailey was speaking about 8.1.1 and 8.1.2 when he was mentioning that $100 would fit the spirit of the law. So I'd already noted that down. Sorry.
Yeah,
for missing.
no, it's accurate. I decided to let the second one slide, but you're absolutely right, Miles, that it would be preferable to change 50 to 100 for
But
consistency.
even better to delete that section if we don't need it. I mean, if it's just,
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, then
why work on it when we
Yeah.
can get rid of it? If it's,
anything that we don't have to obfuscate
yeah,
further should go.
because it's just kind of confusing. So,
I'm frankly, I was confused by a lot of things, so I wasn't sure whether it was legitimate or not.
But 8.1.1 is where in the second line it says, required by the provisions of these general bylaws, that's where we might want to add Massachusetts general laws.
Yes, I think that's
It's a good idea.
a place to do that.
but then the fine. We were talking about it being rather low,
I will,
but you're gonna look into.
I
that?
will, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to answer this while we're sitting here, but I will look into it. I don't know, it seems very, out of place to me to have the fine there be $20, where the starting fine everywhere else is 100. If that has to be true, I'll report back, but I suspect that it's not. I can't think of a provision of the general laws that corresponds to 8.1.1.
Well, we have, are these penalties criminal or non-criminal?
They don't, it doesn't say.
Because we already have a non-criminal fine for the
Position.
zoning bylaws.
Yeah.
That's at the bottom of that chart.
Yeah.
But this would
Correct.
be the DBAs, right? The same.
Right, I'm just-
One,
If you don't need the zoning bylaws in there, that could come out.
yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
don't, yeah, so general
I
law.
don't know what you need in this section, frankly, I hadn't really looked at it that much. But you don't need the zoning. I guess we have to look at the general bylaws and see if building, plumbing and electric carry fines in the MGL somewhere.
I think,
So maybe
yeah, I
it's
think if
covered
they-
elsewhere.
I should know this off the top of my head, but I think the fine for proceeding with it without a building permit, plumbing or electrical permit is higher than 20.
I'm shocked.
I think,
An arm and a
Just
leg.
incentive.
This $300 limit, I mean, that's another thing that could come out of your report is we try to get the state to increase the $300.
Right.
If we could eliminate section 8.1 altogether,
Right,
that would be the win.
Well,
I
I-
agree.
because-
Does it serve?
you may be going a little far on that one, I think.
Well, I don't-
It's a catch-all, but do we,
Yes.
but it doesn't, to Connie's point, doesn't serve a purpose.
Well, we
But
were
it-
And the
earlier
cap-
about the DBA situation where it was.
So we have to figure that out. If it does serve a purpose, it stays. But if it doesn't serve any purpose, we could recommend. I'm for slashing things. You'll learn that over time here.
and I think there may be some merit to the idea of combining, if 8.1.1 serves a valuable purpose and should stay, we may want to combine it somehow with 8.2. Because the caption, the
Yeah.
title for 8.
Right.
Put it to the table.
The title for 8.1 is
Yeah.
penalties, and the title for 8.2 is enforcement,
Yeah.
but 8.2 is all penalties.
It's all penalties with
Yeah.
who enforce. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you. That'd be much better.
So, if I may, 8.1.1 really deals with if there is no other penalty provided for elsewhere in our bylaws.
Correct.
So it could be the beginning of the next section instead of.
Right, whatever, but that's what that's for.
You have to have, you're saying you have to have it somewhere.
It serves a purpose,
Well-
but it might be consolidated.
It's a specific type of catch-all. It's a license catch-all only. License or permit. For example, you cannot walk your dog off leash. under any circumstances, there's no license or permit that allows you to do that. So that's not a catch-all in all situations,
Fair
only for license and permit situations.
So,
Right.
But yeah, this is anomalous, no matter how we look at it.
if you could though, Miles, maybe if you make a note about
Mhm.
possible consolidation of 8.1 and 8.2. Well, yeah, 8.1 and 8.2
Meaning putting this into the table.
into the discussion in section 8.2.
And would possibly eliminating 8.1.2
Correct.
completely.
And the way the approach from the town meeting where we redid 8.2 was that the substance of the regulation was included in the main body of the bylaws. Only the fine was included in 8.2.
Yeah.
So maybe we might want to add something in section 4, licenses and permits, at the end of that section that says, no person shall perform an act or carry on a business or an activity for which a license or permit is required without obtaining the license or permit.
And then have
Period.
the fine for
And then
that.
have the $20 or $100 or $300
You get that
fine
down?
in the table.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
And that would be a recommendation for section 4 review.
Just
Correct,
like everything else.
Yeah, so
It's just like.
Adding 8.11
Yeah,
as an alternative
Confusing,
to section
it's
4.
Not just like everything.
Yeah.
General
And
text.
there's some that we
slash-
can always.
I recognize you in a second, Louise. Just letting Miles catch up on his typing.
Louise is looking a little greener on the bills, it's probably.
Louise?
So I'm just gonna say, at the risk of, bringing up yet another objection to this, I mean, there are statutes, for instance, you have to, I brought up cats, you have to inoculate your cats against rabies. We don't license the cats, but you might still need to do that. So I think the broader the language, the broadness of the language was fine. Leave it broad as a catch-all. And then if we then want to use it, we have a way to use this. And I don't know what other departments do, but yeah.
You may want a different catch-all, because this clearly
Exactly.
says licenses and permits.
Right.
811.
Okay.
Right.
So, but
Okay.
maybe there's another catch-all needed, Miles.
I think that,
Catch
Well,
all.
Okay.
You know what,
Cat's
Louise,
all.
Louise may be
Cat's all.
right, Louise may be right, because there's the clause, or to carry on such business or activity is not in the same clause as license or permit.
I don't think it would.
So-
It's a stretch to
a
think of cat,
strained,
though.
strained reading.
Yeah.
Okay, I love the lawyer, whatever.
Oh,
The cat reference is better than straight.
No, I think the cat reference
You
was
were
much better. I like, the cat was better. No, but I think it just puts, a reader has to infer many things to get to the point of, oh, that means my
Agreed.
cat needs to be vaccinated.
We might have to let the cats go by for now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are,
So I'm summarizing my own mind. The idea might be to add the necessary language to the end of 4 and just have the fines and enforcing
with
personnel.
regard to the activities
Right.
requiring a permit.
The
or
catch-all,
license.
the catch-all activities,
On-
yeah.
The license
on
or permit.
On the
Yeah,
license,
right,
as
right,
opposed to
right.
the general catch-all to catch the cat. My thought is that, one, it's a few minutes before 7, 2, we've beaten this silly. 3, my thought is that if we take a look before we wrap up, if we all just take a look at the recommended changes here and see whether, and I'm not proposing we re-debate them, but rather just are we capturing things that are our notes making sense is really my question.
I think there's numbers of alternatives for things in there that are, so it's not really necessarily just recommendations, right? So it might be this, it might be that.
You're thinking in terms of the phraseology of it. Oh,
Clear that
I think we have an internal referral. So 2.5.1 for section 2 review. I forget what 2.5.1 was.
That's you.
yeah.
Can't wait.
Recommendations with no applicability for various jails. Section 141.
So this would be an actual recommendation.
But it may be overridden by later recommendations, and not even have 8.1, but we're not drafting today. I just think we want to just make sure before we. wrap
About
up.
at top of Article 8, probably.
Very smooth.
Then recommendation, sub-recommendation on this would be to continue, actually, this would really be continuing adding specific
Yeah.
MGLs, so. Continue opportunity to add MGL references. To bylaws. Sections as applicable. Alright. So let's cover 8 point. Recommendation. Increase. $20, $50 to 100x penalty. In sections 8.1.1 and 8.1.2.
Unless we get rid of them.
Right, that's later.
Right. Possibly
Yeah.
eliminate.
And we have, do we want to call this, we'll call it recommendation with, I guess, the intent of looking over conflicting recommendations at the end of this process?
Exactly, yeah.
I think it's called recommendation.
I take that back, Miles, you were right, Max, you had it right the first time.
I would never be able to do this right on the spot. I love the word stuff.
Consolidate sections,
Right, which is.
Yeah,
internal, this is an internal referral. This would be adding the general text or intent of 8.1.1, which is licensure catch-all.
you have to add
License
and
permit,
permit.
yeah.
To end of section 4. And this would be with accompanying
Fine and.
table row and
Yeah.
8.2.1,
Right,
because we'd be spelling out penalties.
Just get another end of parentheses after permit, I think is what you, or catch-all, I can't tell which.
Yes. And then recommendation. Add. Non-license / permit. Catch-all. Do. Article 8.
okay.
Sorry, this is like car sickness moving around, I apologize. Apologize for those watching on Zoom.
I'm just happy you're doing this.
Okay,
Okay,
well, thank you, Connie.
I
Let us
did
through.
very little of this. I was hoping.
We do have to pick a date for March
You're right,
because of the candidates.
March 24th, all right, so Mondays seem to be with, Connie, if we go to a different Monday, does that help you?
Well, at least it's a different level. I have 2 dance lessons every Monday night.
Oh.
At least it's not my weekly, my monthly practice. We can do it.
Well, because Monday in lieu of March 24, does March 31 work?
I can't be here, but that's yours. I don't have any much in anymore. I can do it. Mine, you here? No.
Yeah.
March
Mine's not
31.
here either.
No, I don't know that. It might be.
It's LICMA.
Oh, March 31st. Thinking May, I won't be here.
I think that's probably.
Okay. Well, the earlier Monday
17th.
is the 17th, which we're not in Boston, so it's not evacuation day, but it is. But does that fly? Does
It
anybody?
feels like we should keep it going, so if we can, we ought to do it.
Well, the 17th, is there any objection to March 17th? Hearing none? All right, we'll go, so March 24, we'll move to March 17. Then we've got the business of April 28. Now, the earlier,
I'm sorry, why are we, I missed it. Why are we moving the original dates?
because March 28 conflicts with the candidates
March
night.
24th.
March 24th, I'm sorry,
But
conflicts with the candidates night
if that's
for
the
the
only
League of Women
reason.
Voters, Michael, and you yourself are probably gonna
That's
be
right, he'll
there,
be have to be there. Yeah.
Does he go to that?
I assume.
Used to.
Do you not
No,
go?
they don't want me there anymore.
Oh, all right.
If it starts at 7:30, why don't we do 6 to 7 and just?
Well, we are 6 to 7.
Yeah, so why don't we just do the 24th and just,
It says it's at 7 though. It doesn't say it starts at 7:30.
That was where we stumbled early.
Yeah.
We were having a discussion before the
well,
meeting.
if I
a
could
little
leave
bit.
at 7:15.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be in favor of starting earlier if you want to start a little earlier, but I
Well,
mean,
there was that choice. What about 5:30?
5:30?
5:30 on March 24 in lieu of going to,
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay,
yeah, I mean, I might go to candidates night just as a citizen, but the league doesn't require unopposed to participate anymore, so.
so we'll stay on the
Back.
Move it back.
24th at 5:30, if everybody's agreeable to that.
okay, so that works.
Okay. Then we have a similar problem though with regard to April 28, because that is the league night in anticipation of town meeting. Or not the league night, but that's,
Absolutely.
yeah, it is the league night, yeah, it is the league.
Yeah, I can't do it because I do a session
Right.
beforehand, so,
Right. And so we were thinking we needed to relocate that day or reschedule that day. April 21st
8:30,
It's a
right.
holiday.
is that that's Patriots Day?
And that's spring break.
Okay,
Is the 29th possible since it's the 5th Tuesday?
So I probably went to school committee,
fine with me. if you-
Nobody meets the 5th Tuesday, so.
okay.
April.
Well, I'm gonna be out of town then. I do have select board tentative on that day for some
Yeah,
reason,
you-
but, and I'm not here anyway. But, so, I guess whatever.
Well,
Sometimes we need it, but it should be.
Yeah,
but you won't be here.
I'm not there, I'm not around that week, so.
I see. April 14th. Everybody gonna have their taxes done?
Yeah,
I have a tea
Teacher.
talk.
At 6.
Follow on April 7th. Objections to April 7th?
Well, the next day is the election. I'm pretty sure Louise is gonna be.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I'll be having
Oh,
lots
no.
of-
All
I think
right,
you're
yeah,
gonna-
you're right.
Admit that there isn't a day when everybody will be
All
here.
Does the 29th seemed like it was working with the exception of Kathy, no offense,
Yeah,
Kathy.
20, let's,
So 29th,
We'll miss
okay,
Kathy.
April 29.
So pushing it forward one day from the 28th to the
From
20th.
28,
Right.
so no dissent, we're going to April 29. And then our next item is May. And the reason we need to reschedule May is because May 26 is Memorial Day. Is there an appetite to go? I could go either to the preceding Monday, the 19th.
Is that
Yeah.
too, Chuck?
so we can have town meeting and school
Yeah,
committee every
I
night.
can't,
Oh,
it's,
right.
it is.
May 27, a Tuesday night?
Select board.
You'll still have, you'll select board because that'll be the 4th.
It'll probably, I don't know. Just, yeah, no.
Oh, and then we're into town meeting.
Well, we should
We're
be
in
done.
May. This is the late of May.
We
the end
should
of
be
May.
done by, I would hope, by May 28th. All right, May, you know.
We could do a town meeting night, just have pizza all by.
We could do it, but it's just
No.
that people have.
I
things
can't.
going on.
And Miles can't.
Yeah, yeah.
Michael can't.
What
And
about,
Louise.
Yeah.
could we go to May 28th, a Wednesday night.
I'm not here, but Miles, are you available?
I can be there.
May 28th, Wednesday. No dissent. All right, so we'll go to May 28th. And Miles, I see you're making these changes in real time to our,
I am. They're
Thank
just going
you.
out.
And then June 23rd is, we've got, so that's for last minute fiscal year, that's already on the calendar.
sorry, what?
June 23rd is already on the calendar.
Yes, and I think we have no problem with June 23rd, so. Okay. So the upshot of that is March 24 at 5:30, April 29, and May 28 are the full dates. Miles has those out to us.
So related to that, I believe that I'm on for the April date. If I get bounced from town meeting, what's the fallback?
Designate.
I'm not sure, I think you're the only one who's worried about.
I'm
getting
very
bounced.
worried. What I get for being outspoken on Facebook.
My thought is,
Yeah, people-
you're a sitting member of the committee.
Right,
We'll cross that bridge when we.
And of course, I might not get reelected also, so then, but I could be a designee of this, I'm sure this one's good enough, mind doing that. Unless the new person that elected. He or she isn't ready.
Any other business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So
Second?
second.
All in favor? We have to go through or a roll call vote. Karen?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
I.
Louise?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ron? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Aye.
We